anyways, where was I? So so she like that's, and I told there's two bosses at my school, and I told one of the bosses about it, and she was very angry. She's like, that, she was very angry. She was livid. And she's like, that teacher's stealing our money. We pay her to do a job, and then she just lets the kids sleep and copy. That's like stealing money straight from us, and she was really angry. And then I think it stopped for like a day or like maybe the next class when I went to teach the kid, he wasn't copying homework and he wasn't sleeping. But I think the week after that he was again. So, which is typical, very typical of Taiwanese. You tell them don't do this, and they got bosses, don't do this, so they don't do it for a day or two, and then they just go back to doing it again. It takes something really serious to, but I shouldn't say it's typical. That's typical of humans in general. But in general, someone tells you don't do this, and you don't for a little bit, and then you just go back to your old habits, right? So she's a shit teacher, period. But I honestly, it's not my place to judge her. They gave her the job. I'm not her boss, so I'm not gonna. It didn't bother me too much. The first time I complained about it, and then I saw it happening again. I'm like, fuck it. I'm not gonna narc on her. She's polite enough to me. I'm not gonna rat her out. So then today I go in to teach. And I'm like, well, what am I teaching today? And then she shows me the schedule. You're teaching this, so I look at it, and then I start to teach it. I teach for about 30 minutes, and a couple of times I noticed it was a little odd. And then after about 30 minutes of teaching, I realized they've already been taught this. And I asked them, have you guys already studied this? And they're like, yeah, she taught us the last class. And I'm like, well, why am I reteaching you what you've just learned? Like, of course you need to review, but you normally review for 5-10 minutes, and you teach something new for 20. So I reviewed some older stuff, and then I was teaching what I thought was new for a solid 20-30 minutes, and then I found out it was what I should have been reviewing in the first place, and then so I walk over to her, and I'm like, why am I teaching everything that you already taught last class? She's like, let's check this. Sorry, my schedule's wrong. You should be teaching this day. And I'm like, well, why don't you write the dates? Like class 1 is on the 1st, class 2 is on the 5th of May, and why don't you write the dates beside each class like every other teacher does? And she goes, no, I just make a check after I teach each class. I must have forgot to check last time. And I'm like, well, don't check anymore, write dates, because that way you can't make a mistake like this, or you spend a frickin' hour teaching the wrong frickin' class. And then she's like, no, I do these checks for all my classes. I'm not going to change. And I'm like, it's a bad fucking habit, as we've just learned now. You just wasted my time and their time, and their parents' money. Like every teacher uses dates, and you're the only one that uses checks. And if you forget a check, then then the next day you walk and you forget that you don't notice that you forgot the check, and you spend like 2 hours teaching the wrong class. So yeah, and she's just like, no, I'm not going to change. And then what? So then I'm like, okay, fine, fuck. And then I'm like, so I realize what I should be teaching. So I start to teach something new, and I'm teaching it well because I've got 11 years of teaching experience, and I'm teaching grammar, like low-level grammar, which is, again, it's like my area of expertise. There are some parts of teaching that I'm not good at. Like, I don't know. Well, I'm not going to name my faults, but let's just say this is like, that's what I'm best at, teaching grammar, especially like low-level grammar. I got a motorcycle chasing me and a sports car. Crazy. Some people just don't like being passed. Alright, I'll let the motorcycle pass, just so you can see something. I'll be kind. I really did. I laid off the gas just then. I don't know if you noticed. So yeah, and then she's like, so then I'm teaching this grammar and I'm doing it well, and every time I come to class too, I look at what she's taught, and it's always like